Hello, I'm Kevin Church, and this month for October 2023, our MUFIC Songwriter of the Month is Jake Augustini. Hey Jake, how you doing?
Hey, Kevin, doing well. How are you?
Good. Good, man. It's good to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too.
So we're going to get you acquainted with the MUFIC viewers.
Cool.
Uh, Let us know, tell us a little bit about how you got started. Did you come from a musical family at all?
Yeah, my dad, he played guitar, and so we had a guitar in the house growing up. He never gigged or played out, but he wrote some songs, and so we got a taste of some original music from him.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually really get into music myself until kind of the end of high school. So I had music at home. My parents had like a Simon and Garfunkel album, I think Greatest Hits, some
Okay.
Beach Boys, the Beatles. So I definitely, I loved hearing music, but yeah, it wouldn't be till later that I actually kind of got into it for myself.
Gotcha. So what were you listening to in high school, man, do you think?
Yeah, it was probably a lot of kind of pop punk bands and kind of emo music. I think, I think like Green Day, Blink 182, a band called MXPX, I liked a lot. Yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
So, when do you think you started writing songs? If you took guitar up in your late high school days.
Yeah, so I first learned the guitar. It was the summer, I guess the summer after graduating. I was about to turn 18, and my little brother had gotten a guitar, and so I started learning on that. And I guess it probably took me a good year playing around to figure out, get smooth at some chords. And I think I first started writing probably a year into that, and I kind of did it from time to time, but it was probably 2021, early 20s, I started really getting into it. I had some friends in bands and, playing music. So that was something that I think really brought it closer to home where
Right.
I thought, oh, I can do this. Like
Very cool.
these guys can write a song, I can write a song. And I kind of like been writing songs just in my room. So that kind of gave me, I think, more inspiration to make it more of like a serious hobby or habit. Yeah.
I got you. So, did you guys compare songs?
Very rarely. Let's see. We did late. Yeah, I would say probably not those very early days. But 2, 3 years into playing, yeah, it would. It would. It's kind of like a rule. I feel like for me, it's like I wouldn't share a song with anyone unless they were a close friend and a musician. It's like because then I knew that even if my song was terrible, they could appreciate the effort.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I played an open mic until I was maybe like 22 or so, and it was because I had friends and they were going to go, and I remember being terrified being on
Oh,
stage,
yeah.
but really enjoying it too. Like once I was up there, yeah.
So, where was home in this time?
Sure. So I grew up in Texas. My childhood was spent around Dallas, and then kind of adolescent years, teenage years in Houston. And Houston was really that's where I started learning guitar. There was a coffee shop, I think it was Seabrook, Texas, about 30, 40 minutes outside of Houston, that had an open mic. It was called Kenny J's Coffee, and we would go there and, hear friends play. And then that's the one that I ended up playing at for a little bit. And then, I guess early 20s, maybe 24 years old or so, I moved to Austin, Texas, and got a little, at that point I wasn't playing out a ton, but it was definitely like songwriting was something that I loved and I did in my free time very often.
Very cool. So, as you were beginning to write songs and discover who you are as a writer, uh, what did you like? Did you team up with these guys at all? Like share stage with them anymore? Like anything like that?
A little bit. So yeah, one little, I guess, piece of those earlier days. I grew up going to church and I ended up playing in the youth band for my church.
Okay.
And while I'm not doing that now, that was something I do feel like was a huge benefit to me, like learning music, because you're surrounded by people usually much better than you. You get a sense of playing with a group, not just by yourself.
Right.
Things like, playing in tempo and rhythm and
yeah.
knowing your place and not overplaying in a song or trying to clash with the piano or whatever. So,
Right.
so yeah, that was something I did. And then out of that, I had a couple friends that I guess we did a couple of times. We played out similar, like kind of church events. So we play a mix of, I guess, like church worship songs, but then throw in some maybe cover songs. There's some bands, I don't know, like we play maybe some Coldplay songs, or there's a band Switchfoot that's
Yeah.
popular in that circle. And yeah, so that was a little taste maybe of kind of playing with the group. And to answer your question, as far as writing, there was a couple of those guys that we would share songs. I don't think at that point I'd ever co-written, no. I think most of
Okay.
my writing was I tend to be really reclusive. And
Right.
I think writing for me was also always, or started very almost like a journal. It was more of like an outlet.
Yeah.
And so to share that with someone, especially when you're younger,
Right.
felt real self-conscious about that. So I didn't really share those for a long time.
I got you. So, as you grew in your music ability and in your songwriting, where did you head to next?
Yeah, so let's see. I think what kind of, and I'm still, I hadn't graduated from the open mic scene as much. I think I've played like 2 gigs where I got paid money for it, but I hadn't really pushed that yet. But yeah, I think it was later in my time in Austin. My sister was with a guy who was a full-time musician at the time. He played in like a southern rock country band in Texas named Jared Wagner, and he had been going to this open mic in a town called, I think it was in Buda, Texas. It's kind of 45 minutes south, heading towards San Marcos. And he invited me and my best friend, Taylor Blampede, who's, some of y'all may know, he's in the open mic scene here. Him and I have been knowing each other forever, and we were roommates back in Austin. And so him
Oh,
and I would
cool.
go down to this open mic. And yeah, there was a period where we'd gone pretty regularly, and that became almost like a weekly ritual. Whereas before it was, once in a blue moon, if you happen to hear of one and got invited, you might go. But I think that was the first time that was something we were like, really looking forward to, and started, practicing ahead of time, sharing song originals at that open mic. So yeah, I think that would have been probably like around 2016, 17, maybe some in that range. Yeah.
And when you write, do you focus on lyrics? Do you focus on riffs? What gets the ball rolling for you?
Yeah. I would say for me, and that's a good question because I feel like a lot of people, I'm always curious too what everyone's style is. I think for me, most of the time, it's either just kind of like a melody that I just kind of pops in my head, and then I try and figure out what would those chords be around that. Or I think more often it's really just me either just messing around on the guitar, not really playing anything, just kind of goofing off. Or I've played piano too a little bit, so maybe sitting at the keyboard, just kind of playing until I stumble into something I like, and then I'm like, oh, that's a cool riff, or that's a cool progression.
Right.
And then I may then kind of I'll record it just on my phone or something, and then think, okay, like I should make a song out of that. And then it moves to like, what's the mood of this, or like, what do I want to say, or what's something I could write a song about, and then it kind of moves to lyrics afterwards. I'd say that's probably the most common route for me. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, and I mean, as a writer, I've seen it. I've done that too.
Yeah.
Like you're just playing, and all of a sudden, oh wow,
Yeah. You ever, you're like playing, and then you're onto something, and then there's a distraction, somebody from the other room like, hey, one second, I gotta make sure I get this nailed down, I'll forget it.
So, we were talking off camera. How do you keep your ideas, like, so you don't lose them? We were talking about that, and I think that's pretty cool what you said.
Yeah. So for me, I do think I don't have the best memory in general. So I tend to I use personally, like, I work best on a computer. So I use like Google Docs. I've got a Google Drive with a songs folder filled with all these docs. So I'll write down if there's lyrics or even like what the chords kind of progression. But then to really capture it, I'll record, once I have an idea or even a fragment, I'll record it on my phone. And then, yeah, what I touched on earlier is once I have the song pretty fleshed out, like I would say done in that it has an adequate amount of verses and a chorus or something.
Right.
I will record it complete in that form. And I've been doing, basically making a habit of uploading these to SoundCloud, but just as a private account.
Right.
So they're not in a state that I would necessarily want others to hear them yet.
Right.
But I do think it's important for me to capture it as it is. One, I think it's just cool to have a record, a memory of it.
Yes.
So I can go back years later and be like, oh, I totally forgot about that song. And maybe it's not good, or maybe it's not, worth pursuing more, but it's cool to have. And then I think I've also gone back too, and it's kind of just like it keeps your catalog kind of in mind of what you've written, which to me is cool because one, you can kind of gauge your progress, like as a musician or as a songwriter. Agree. You can see like the depth of your song or the complexity improve or whatever. And then two, I've certainly like revisited old songs and thought like, oh, I should play that. Like I actually always liked that song. I don't know why I stopped or why I forgot about it.
I like it, man. It's a very cool way in a virtual world.
Yeah.
To be organized with your progress. I think that's pretty fantastic, and I wanted our viewers to see that, hear that information, because that's pretty cool.
And I do. I really encourage people. I mentioned I certainly know some people that I think have written really fantastic songs, and I'll ask like, I want to hear them. I'm like, hey, can I hear this? I don't really have anything. And then my next question is always, well, you did record it somewhere, right? Like it's on your computer, it's on your phone. And if the answer is no, I really want to push them. Like, I don't care if you like the song or not. Like, record it somewhere and keep it because, I think it's cool. I think if nothing else, everyone, whoever that person is, even if they say they don't like it, I think almost as like a time capsule to be able to hear something you wrote 10 years from now or something. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm sentimental, but I think that'll be cool.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because then you can go back and see the progress, or
you might like it.
Might still relate to it and be like, hey, I need to add that one to the repertoire.
Totally. Yeah.
So how does it feel for you when you've nailed it? Then you can talk about how it's not good enough.
Right.
Let's talk about how it feels when you feel like you've nailed it.
Yeah. That's always, that's the best feeling, right? If only it happened more often. I think what I've kind of observed is that the songs that I feel like I've nailed it, they tend to get written super fast.
Right.
They tend to come out fairly effortlessly. And they tend to correlate to a very strong, real emotion or experience. So I mentioned, I think like for me, historically, many of my songs have been almost like a therapeutic outlet, like a journal or something. It's like I'm going through a hard time, and so I'm writing a song about it because that's all I'm thinking about. It's like I can't help it. That's what's on my mind, so it's coming out.
Right.
But there's certainly been times where those are the songs that they kind of get written quick. I think part of that is because I know what I'm writing because I'm feeling it so intensely, versus if I'm just sitting at a desk and like I want to write a song because I have time and like I want to be a better songwriter, and it's more of like a muscle exercise, and so which I still think is valuable. I'm very jealous of artists who I know some who are just like, I only write when the muse like falls on me. And I'm like, cool. Well, the muse must have forgot my address because I need to work for it.
I hear you, man.
But so for me, I do think there's value in the practice and keeping knowing how to write, and you get better with your ideas and metaphors. But I think the best songs come out of a very honest place when the feeling is real in the moment.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Honesty's key.
Yeah,
I feel like it is.
totally.
Totally it's back to being, what you mentioned earlier, being younger and being honest is not acceptable.
Right. Yeah.
Now we're like trying to teach ourselves honesty is acceptable, and
Yeah.
that's what really connects with the people, I think, man.
Right. Totally.
If you really want my opinion, but
I totally agree. And that's, yeah, I think we touched on that earlier when we were talking. It's like when you're playing these songs out, it's like if the audience is watching you play and they don't believe that you mean what you're singing about, it's not going to connect. And so, yeah, it's also those same songs that I'm saying it's like that I felt very connected to. And often they're very personal and maybe like, and especially when I wrote them, maybe I didn't want to talk about what I was writing about. And maybe I wouldn't have necessarily, offered this up in a public setting.
right.
But the beauty of, I guess, songs is you can kind of wrap it in a little obscurity through metaphor and through your language. And then, of course, somebody may ask you like, wow, that was a great song. What was that about? Or like, I think I relate, or, usually I think my songs, you kind of know what it's about, but, it's, yeah, I think there's something about that honesty. Like you said, it's really hard to convey, and especially when you're young. But I think that's what really makes it a good song that people can connect with.
That's awesome, man. So, what song are you going to do for us today?
Yeah, so today's going to be a song. It's called Feels Like Home. And it's kind of about, it's having moved out of Texas, I still have, my family's pretty close. And so I've got a pretty strong, I've got a real sense of when I think of like home in a nostalgic way, I think of like going home, like to my mom's house or for the holidays or having my siblings around. So there was something I think I was just thinking about, that feeling. I mentioned this was one of those I wrote with this kind of one song a week challenge I did with my friends.
Tell me about that. Like, go into that so our viewers can hear
and I
that
forgot
story.
I forgot if we had touched on that during the interview yet. But so this was like, I want to say maybe late 2016 or so. And it was me and about 4 other people, some friends of mine, and we were all, musicians into songwriting. And we decided that we would challenge each other to write one song every week. And we'd report back. We'd give ourselves a due date. And we had a Facebook like message thread.
Nice.
And the rules were, basically, it can't be a song you've already started. It's got to be something fresh. You get 1 week. We're not looking for production value. We're not looking for like the best singer or the best player or whatever. Like, we just want to work on our songs, and like everybody's going to, swear to give honest feedback, be constructive. Don't just say it's good without saying why. And don't just say it's bad without saying why.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. Yeah. It went for like 8 weeks. Surprisingly, so the song I'm going to play, Feels Like Home, it was actually the first song I got out of that. And,
man, cool.
And I think it was towards the end of the year, so I was probably anticipating going home for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's something about home was kind of in my mind. And it's kind of like I guess kind of a love song in that it paints this picture of kind of the idea of getting the feeling of home, but with someone you're with rather than the physical location. And so it kind of draws from what that feeling of kind of returning home is, but then the chorus is basically like, when I'm with you, I feel at home, that kind of. So that's kind of the theme of the song. But yeah, I ended up really liking it, and I played out pretty often at open mics and stuff. And so looking forward to playing it today.
I'm going to play on it too, man. Looking forward to it. We have Karen Egan with us today.
Excellent.
So, man, we loved having you on the show, and you got some stories to tell. We can't wait to hear it in this song.
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Awesome, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jake Augustini, everybody.
1, 2, 3, 4.
feels like rivers returning to shorelines, flowing from snow caps to seasides. It feels like home. Green leaves rustle and glow as the birds sing, waking your soul in the morning, and it feels like home. It's been some time. Some things never change at all. All we need is that open road. You and me are making life our own. We're blazing trails into the great unknown. I take your hand and it feels like home. Feels like summer returning with warm light, burning the gray off an old sky. It feels like home. Long drives, words that you carry your whole life, melodies hold you with arms tight, and it feels like home. The songs today, they pale like headlights in the sun. All we need is that open road. You and me are making life our own. We're blazing trails into the great unknown. I take your hand and it feels like home. Is that open road. You and me are making life our own. We're blazing trails into the great unknown. I take your hand and it feels like home. I take your hand, I take your hand, I take your hand and it feels like home.
Thanks, everybody.
Great job, man. That
Sounded
rocked,
great,
dude.
guys. Yeah.
That rocked good. That rocked.
I hit all the right notes, I
You
think.
did, man.
At least on the guitar.
MUFIC sets you free.